Good morning, wake up, Patriots. It is Chris, and yes, I'll get on that chat pretty soon. The old chat is a little slow for me, but you know who's not slow? A good friend of mine, and of course, the host, one of the hosts of the Thursday and Friday shows, Wake Up Patriots. We have Trixie here, so we're kind of integrating today, right?
Yeah, integrating. We're blending the whole week together.
This is the diversity version of the show. We got the week, the second half of the week, and the first half of the week, kind of intertwining. So we are inclusive people. There we go.
Are you saying I'm a DEI hire, Chris?
No, I'm the DEI hire. I'm Italian.
Well,
Hey,
I'm Polish Russian, so
well, think about this. As long as he's whining about, we get a black president, yay! We had a first Hispanic president, we had a first blah blah. There's never been an Italian president, has there?
no, I can't think of any. I can't.
That's right.
No, I
And we
can't.
and we have great slogans like "Vote for Cordani" and nobody gets hurt.
You know what I think it is? I think it's the vowels at the end of our names that really messes them up. That can't deal with it.
Exactly. See, that's pretty racist of them, isn't it?
Yes, I think so.
But think about that. How about this one? Vote for Chris. He's got charm. Vote for Chris, or Bruno will break your arm.
Yeah, that sounds Italian too, doesn't it?
There we go. But there's a lot to talk about, and let's start with Joe Biden, who apparently seems to think that his voice is the one that America needs right now in this time of greatness. Although he and the Democrats are trying to tell you that this is a time of disarray and horribility, if you will. I like that word horribility. I made that up in case you're wondering. I can make things up. If Joe Biden can make up how horrible he thinks America is, then I can make up some words.
Well, they brought out Dark Brandon again. I don't know why they keep doing that. He's so irrelevant, and then with the way he presents himself, it just proves everything we've ever said about him.
That's correct. So he decides to go out and speak in public. It was his first one since, I believe, the election, if I'm correct here, and it's an absolute mess so far. It's an embarrassment of it's an embarrassment of epic proportions.
Oh my gosh, is it ever?
Did you see it? Did you see him?
I saw clips of it and I couldn't believe it. He was right back to where he was when he left, but he stumbles, he mumbles, he skids right out on everything. He's crazy.
Well, let's just talk about how much of a disaster this was. As soon as the you saw the movie Major League, right?
Oh yeah.
Bob Uecker said when Willie Mays Hayes had that little tiny hit to third base, and of course Uecker tried to exaggerate. He goes, before he got the hit, he goes, you can tell how the season's going to go with the opening batter. Well, here's what happened with the opening of Biden's speech in Chicago, and this was just the start of the disaster.
Thank you.
The music's playing, and he's yammering over it, not realizing that nobody can hear him.
Oh my gosh.
He just forgot. He didn't. Does he know how to wait for the music to end?
I think he's about 3 minutes behind. He's still trying to catch up.
The opposite of Seiko from The Interesting Four, that Saturday Night Live sketch. Remember that one? Seiko used to appear 3 seconds ahead of everybody else.
He's so lost. He's so lost.
Oh my gosh. Here's another one. He just started yammering for absolutely no reason. Then he started screaming again, as usual, yelling at everybody.
That's what legislation is about. It's about dignity.
Oh,
Dignity.
He's yelling at you now.
Everyone is be treated with dignity.
I don't know what's with the hands.
And regardless of economic situation, regardless of who they are. Making sure that more than 60 million Americans.
He's trying to talk like us Italians.
We're living with disabilities. We're treated with dignity.
That's right.
Look at this.
Who we are as Americans.
Whoop,
That's what it's about.
Get off my lawn. Get off my lawn. Oh,
he is the crabby grandpa from down the street. That's for sure.
Oh yeah, they think he's all nice and grandpa, like the one that you want your kids to sit on his lap, but that's not the case. No, he is that grumpy guy, the one that the kids were afraid to go near when they hit the baseball in his yard.
I'd be afraid of him sniffing my hair. I wouldn't want him to get near his lap.
And your hair does look great today, by the way. I must say. I have to color mine. Anyway, that's my beauty secret. We do have Tony Shaffer coming in a little bit. He's doing a hit on Newsmax, and we have two very special guests, Robert Spencer and our friend Susan Olson. We are going to really enjoy a conversation with them. And Tracy, this is going to be a lot of fun.
Oh yeah, it's gonna be fun.
But
It'll be good too. There with enough there'll be enough of us on here talking, so
right,
it should be pretty good.
it'll be a blast. And of course, we'll be conversing with our friends in the chat. Um, let's see what you're thinking of this whole thing with Joe Biden. The idea is this man and the Democrats seem to have thought that this is the guy that's going to lead them into calmness because there is nobody else. There we talked about this. There's absolutely nobody else, but this guy is so feeble-minded. He still can't run a speech correctly. Here's another little piece.
By the way, those 300-year-old folk getting that Social Security, I want to meet them because I like to figure out how they live out.
He's trying to make a joke.
Hell of a thing, man. I'm looking for longevity because it's hell when you turn 40 years old.
He looks like the crypt keeper.
Yes, he looks like he looks like Nancy Pelosi.
Pickles, that's what we call her. Pickles Pelosi with tobacco.
Well, he had just he's trying to make jokes. He's trying to make light of the situation where he's trying to tell you we're in a dire need to change the leadership. We're in the dire need to work through Trump. The idea is it's still just the regular Democrat mantra: orange man bad.
Oh, the TDS is unreal.
Yep. Here's another one for you. He's trying to convince the people there, basically the choir that he's preaching to, that the first 100 days of Trump were absolutely horrid. When I think I've seen the opposite, Tracy.
Oh my gosh, I've seen the opposite too.
This new administration has made done so much damage and so much destruction.
Damage and destruction. What damage and destruction? Oh yeah, to USAID and their money laundering scheme tricks.
Oh my gosh, I know that yeah, but everything he does is projection. That's exactly what it is.
Yes,
Yeah.
this man and the Democrats and the globalists have worked hard to destroy the nation and the Western and the Western European nations.
Oh,
Yeah,
Western, they're gone. They're gone already. They're so bad.
No, they could come back. And as a matter of fact, there's a story going on about the Netherlands. There are some parliament members that are trying to fight the idea of I guess one of the cities has of doing over the PA system citywide the calls to prayer for the Muslims.
Oh yeah.
This isn't Kabul. This is other people's cities too. You
Well,
can't.
yeah, they
Right.
cut the church bells off and everything in so many places
Right.
too. So how is that fair?
It's not. But again, it's bending over backwards for people they're trying to bring in to destroy the country. I'm
Yeah.
sorry. I'm not saying every Muslim is horrible. I am saying, though, a lot of people, there are the whole idea of no-go zones. This is real. The whole idea of small towns being supplanted and overrun is, and that's not even just the people. It's the infrastructure by this mass migration. It's real.
Yeah. Oh, like Dearborn, Michigan. I call it Dearbornistan because that's a real no-go zone.
I like that Dearbornistan.
Yeah. The whole town is full.
Let's hear more from Joey B.
It's kind of breathtaking it could happen that soon. They've taken a hatchet to the Social Security Administration,
Lie.
pushing an additional 7,000 employees, 7,000
Pencil pushers.
out the door in that time, including the most seasoned career officials. Now they're getting ready to push thousands more out the door. Already we can see the effects. For example, 100 days.
Okay, yeah. What effects here? The fact is Joe Biden always brags about his employment numbers.
Yeah.
Democrats always brag about their employment numbers. We know some of the Biden numbers were fake and handed off to illegals. However, a lot of that is government bloat,
Yeah.
government hiring, government contracts, and government everything from the government. So basically, it's a net negative if the taxpayer is still paying for all of this and the money is still going back to the government.
Well, plus all the empty buildings and everything too, that because nobody was going to work and now they're finding out there's places that are just have been sitting there. That's crazy.
And of course, you can't have a Joe Biden speech without a racist moment. Speaking of empty suits. This part was absolutely hilarious. Now, I understand the context of what he was trying to pull off. So I'm not one of those who will just say, oh, he's being a racist, but he's an idiot. because
Oh,
he's in a party that sees nothing but race, and here's how he refers to black people.
And I'd never seen hardly any black people in Scranton at the time and I was only going in fourth grade. And I remember seeing the kids going by at the time called colored kids on a bus going by. And
Colored kids, he used that expression.
yeah,
What is this,
on the bus, he should be on the short bus, not
it's 1975, I believe, or something like that.
Oh.
But he is Tricks?
I was just gonna say that he never progressed, I don't think, past 1965. Everything, his mindset is totally backwards with the way he is. And when he's talking, he's trying to be politically correct, but he can't remember what political correctness means.
Oh, and well, he actually thinks colored's the right way to go. I believe
Yeah.
maybe that's what it is.
Throw
But
him a box of crayons.
oh yeah. Oh, here's something about Joe Biden that you might remember. He was the guy who, when he was a senator, said he did not want to integrate schools because he didn't want his kids growing up in a racial jungle. These are the kind of people that have populated the Democrat Party for years.
Oh, I remember that. I remember his plagiarism too. He was always doing that. And just like he said, how he graduated so high in law school and everything, he was at the bottom of the class.
Oh, the idea, look, Democrats believe they can say anything they want and nobody will fact check them.
Yeah.
Absolutely nobody. And that's the issue. They actually believe this. They think they're above the law, they think they're above fact checking, and they think nobody will research them. Of course, we have people here, regular people will referred to as internet sleuths by the mainstream media, who find these things out. This started up with Dan Rather and his fake memo, and it moved forward.
I remember that too.
Oh,
Well, the mainstream media is in their pocket. That's part of the problem. That's why there isn't any fact checking or anything like that going on. But now the mainstream media is pretty much dead with alternative, because alternative digs it all up, and he can say something, and within 20 minutes somebody's refuting it. So that's really good. That's the good part of what's going on.
absolutely, and thank you very much, Deborah. By the way, yes, they only fact check the opposition. As we were discussing this, I think a little while ago, and I don't know if it was I even know what show it was on. I think it was this one, but the idea is, Trixie, the fact checkers started coming out at the end of the Bush era, where these TV stations, the mainstream media would if they weren't ignoring President Bush's speeches because they were claiming, well, he lies, so we're not going to air him anymore.
Mm-hmm.
When they put him on, they'll have MSNBC or some of the major networks stopping and fact checking the speech, fact checking the speech in the middle of it, inserting their opinions over what he said, and then playing again.
Yeah.
Those people disappeared during the Obama administration.
Oh, yeah, they were absolutely absent. And I don't know about that. What was it? In the NDAA, though, too, with that Smith-Mundt Act, where they were allowed to actually do, what do you call it, propaganda on the news. And I think they went with that. They ran with it with Obama.
Oh, yes. In fact, though, these fact checkers came back, though, during Donald Trump's appearances in the media and, of course, his presidency. But
Yeah.
again, these are all inserting their opinions. They're not fact checkers and never were. And that's the idea.
Well, yeah, their opinions were so wrong. Well, you can't say an opinion's wrong but it was put out. What they would put out was just to lead the public into what they wanted them to believe. And that was the real sad part of it, because you have so many people uninformed that were watching that just went wholeheartedly with whatever they saw on TV or read in the news.
Absolutely. And let's go with, and again, they also believe and this is another thing, another mentality with the left and the Democrats. They always believe they're never going to be held accountable and they are above the law.
Yeah.
And this is the case with one lady that we all know and love, Letitia James, the New York Attorney General. She is in deep snuts.
Oh, I've been waiting for this day. It's all turning around right back on her, and I love it.
That's right. Apparently, and this is according to this is an article from Zero Hedge. So Tyler Durden, great writer. I like this guy. I'm a fan of Tyler Durden's. Anyway, a criminal referral against the New York Attorney General Letitia James has been filed with the DOJ, alleging that James has falsified records to get home loans for a Virginia property that she claimed, get this, was her principal residence in 2023. And so how can this woman have a principal residence in Virginia, first of all, while she is serving New York as Attorney General.
Exactly. Exactly. And,
Yeah, so it's fraud.
yeah.
Federal Housing Finance Agency Director William Poot sent the missive to Attorney General Pam Bondi and Deputy AG Todd Blanche, claiming that in late August 2023, weeks before she launched her civil fraud suit against the Trump Organization. Remember, nobody is above the law.
Yeah. And it's so funny that it happens to be real estate too that they're getting her on. It's like that's karma. That's karma.
That's right. Real estate fraud when she tried to push fake real estate fraud. Let's listen to her when she was trying to get Donald Trump.
Payments to the state of New York and to states all across this nation. It is unacceptable, unconstitutional, ultra-vires. They've exceeded their authority. And so it's important that attorneys general representing our respective states stand up and enforce the rule of law, because Elon Musk, individuals at the Treasury, and the President of these United States is not above the law.
But the Attorney General of the state of New York is.
That's what do you want to say? That's the fraud broad. That's what I'm going to start calling it.
The fraud broad. Oh, Letitia James. I just no. Well, basically, let's go a little bit more here. According to the article, in 2021, James purchased a 5-family Brooklyn property, which was consistently misrepresented as the same property as only having 4 units in both building permit applications and numerous mortgage documents applications. Again, another instance of fraud. This woman could go to jail.
Yeah. Which one though? I'm not sure what she is.
Right, and that's the funny thing. Letitia James and the Democrats are always talking about jailing Donald Trump. They tried to put this man in jail. The only reason they did was to label him a felon. Yeah. And have the left say, call him, you'll see on the social media, oh, the felon this, the felon that, the felon this. Well, now you're going to be confused because pretty soon you'll be referring to either her or Letitia James.
Oh, she deserves it, though. She deserves it. She deserves everything that's coming her way. And I hope it just keeps on trickling down to everybody else, too.
Yeah. As a matter of fact, check this little portrait of her here. The little AI of her made on I don't know if I can say orange is the new black at this point.
Oh, I was just going to say that too.
Let's let me take the hit for that. If I don't want to get you in trouble. Great.
Oh, I like that jumpsuit on her, though. It fits, doesn't it?
It does fit well. So
orange is a good color for her.
That's right.
She looks like a pumpkin.
That's absolutely true. But this is very serious, though. This is something that really bothers me. These corrupt Democrats are actually thought they'd stay in power for so long, and this is why they can do whatever they think they can do whatever they want. They go under the radar here. They don't think anybody's going to investigate them. They demonize the other side to try to ensure they'll never get in power again. And then this is why they fearmonger, because they're not afraid of the country going down. They're afraid of them going down.
Yeah, it's the consequences that for their actions that's going to take them down. Like I always say, like RICO, that's my favorite word. I try to throw that into every conversation because there's a lot of them there to go down for RICO.
Exactly. And they're also trying to find a new cause, too. It's always something like the guy in Maryland or they're embracing Mahmoud Khalil. They're in love with criminals. They're in love with criminals. They can try to show a sympathetic side, too.
Well, that's because birds of a feather flock together. That's why they're so sympathetic to criminals, because they all are. They all are.
And Judge Boasberg, you know him. He has a new pal, by the way.
Yeah.
He has a new pal. And this is another. The Democrats are very good at judge shopping because they can find Obama and Biden appointed judges. I don't like the interference from some of this here as far as the ads, but we'll get into that. Indira Talwani, I believe I talked about her on another show I do. It's on. It's actually on the America Out Loud radio network. I do a show called Unleashed. It's on tonight. Apparently, this woman here has stopped the Trump administration from ending the Biden amnesty for Cubans, Haitians, Nicaraguans, and Venezuelans. It was called the CHNV program. Creative acronym, I guess. The idea is, though, this might not have been really a legal order in the first place, but that's something that's being discussed. We'll get into the article. According to this, U.S. District Judge Indira Talawani ruled after a hearing that the paroled migrants can stay in the U.S. as they pursue immigration benefits. In effect, her ruling will prevent the Department of Homeland Security's Secretary Kristi Noem from revoking their parole status as part of an administration plan to end the humanitarian program on April 24th. Basically, yes, the Trump administration should have the right to end this.
Yeah.
And I'm not even a big fan of the DACAs anymore. They've been around for how many years now?
Oh my gosh, decades.
Right.
It has to be decades.
Couldn't they have gotten their affairs in order already?
Well, you would think so. I mean, if I was going to sneak in illegally, one of the first things I would have did would try to be legal so that I wasn't walking around, with looking behind me all the time. If you really want to assimilate and be an American, do it the legal way. There's no reason to stay illegal for 20 years if you're here. Absolutely none.
There is absolutely none. And on that note, I'm passing the torch to Tony Shaffer, fresh from
good morning.
Newsmax.
Yes,
Hey,
I was just on with Chris. Hey, good morning. How are
Good
y'all?
morning.
Oh my goodness, my hair's still messed up.
How are you? Oh, so that North Carolina guy.
No, I'm trying. No, I'm on a project right now. I'm helping out with not that I'm doing construction, just helping supervise. I only supervise, so
You
So
look a
good
little
morning.
like Captain Planet today.
I feel like Captain Planet today, so at least I've still got some hair. Just saying, Chris. So, yeah.
Remember Captain Planet? This thing in the '90s where these 5 kids would merge into Captain Planet, but one had the power of land, the earth, one had the power of air, one had the power of fire, and the other had wind. And this other kid got stuck with the power of heart. I mean, what the hell is that? Who's going to fight with that?
See, I always wanted the power of Saran wrap and Windex. Those are the things I wanted. So
I want the power of karma. That's what I would take. The power of karma.
Letitia James has just had that power of karma, so maybe you got it.
Yeah.
she's got the power of Carmel. She eats them by the bushel.
Yeah, she could end buffets like Lizzo, right?
That's right. Well, so we talked. I don't know if you heard. We're talking about sending Lizzo to instead of being a buffer, you could send Lizzo. She could be the buffet. She could have like this 1,000-mile long buffet along the border of Ukraine and Russia, and she can patrol it eating. So it would be a very useful, right, Chris? I mean, you could really set her up so she's like a permanent feeding machine, and the moment someone comes across, she can eat them. It'd be great. I think it'd be a good practical way of using her skills.
Well, I do have to black it off too.
I do have some breaking news when it comes to. Yeah, all right, Lizzo did guard the buffet during the Joe Biden speech. During Joe Biden's speech yesterday, she guarded the buffet, and she tried to sneak some very fruity colored cereal. These little round balls that were like 3 different colors, right?
Yeah, little. What do they call them?
Well, basically, what happened was another guard slapped her on the hand and said, "No, Lizzo, tricks are for wake up patriots."
Ah.
Oh, there's a good one in that one. Tricks are for wake up patriots. There you go.
And so is Susan Olsen.
Hey, Susan. Good morning.
Hi.
Good morning.
Hello.
Good morning, Susan Olsen from the Brady Bunch, not the crazy bunch like the ones in charge right now, or the ones that we're in charge, right?
Yeah.
So
right. The ones in charge I like.
The ones in charge now are good. Yeah. So anyway, we've just been talking about Lizzo. Susan, do you think it would be a good idea to send Lizzo to Ukraine, and instead of having a buffer, having a buffet, like 1,000-mile buffet, and she could just kind of patrols up and down and feeds, and then if Russians come across, she can eat them? I think it's a good idea. I think it has practicality. So,
normally I'm really against fat shaming. But in Lizzo's case, I make an exception.
Well, she's annoying shaming more than anything.
She's
else,
annoying.
Right?
Yeah. I have no problem with people being big. Yeah.
She's a mean girl.
Yes.
Yeah. So I'm against mean people, no matter what their size.
That's right. Nobody likes people who are mean, except for us.
Here she comes. Your girlfriend, Tony.
So, I've got my boys running around here, Manny and Ruben are here. Yeah, I'm gonna have Ruben. See, their little running thing is right over there. Susan, see, they got their running thing.
Oh, they have. Oh my gosh.
See that? Yeah,
I've seen those work very well for opossums.
He was doing it earlier to be annoying when I was on with Chris Salcedo, but now he's not doing it. It's like when I want him to do it, it's like, no, I'm not going to do it. Okay.
That's a cat for you, Tony.
Cats.
Okay, that's cat 101.
If cats could speak,
them to do.
That's right, Susan. If cats could speak, You know, if cats could speak, they wouldn't.
Right.
Here's one. Come here. Come here. Come here, you.
Oh,
Look, here's Manny. Here's Manny.
See,
There he is. Look at
that's a
that.
beautiful
Look
cat.
at
That's an awesome
that.
cat.
Cute couple.
Isn't that? Yeah, there's Manny. Yeah, he's stinky. He needs a bath. Just saying. I don't want to embarrass him. He's going to get upset. But
Yeah, I don't subscribe to that whole George Costanza thing where he goes, guys with cats? I don't know. What I got to tell you.
Wait, bathing cats? Yeah, and my other Sphinx has fur. So
that's cool.
She
Well,
really doesn't get
we'll see if Ruben comes up. He's like the chicken looking cat. I don't know where he's at. So who knows?
Yes, he's dark.
Anyway,
we call
Any cat named after a sandwich is a cool cat. That's all I can
that's
tell you.
right. No, he's named after Pee Wee Herman. Ruben.
Yeah, Dave Rubin.
Paul Rubin. Yeah.
So we're going to
Rubin was
do
a Partridge Family.
what we should do is give Elon Musk a call, and we want our all-female crew of Blue Origin, people on one of his SpaceX things.
Susan,
And
did you see that they
Susan should be on it.
engorged the spaceship full of female astronauts?
And it looked like a big
Oh my!
Going
Oh my!
into space.
Did you get my tape? Oh yeah, send the tape. I sent this tape to Chris. Run the tape, Chris. It's great.
We're going to run this. And by the way, the crew I want to see is Susan, Cherie, Trixie, and basically, let's put Carol Decker in there. You guys can go fly up to space with Elon Musk and make it a cooler flight. Not this.
Well, and we can parallel park.
That's much better. All right, here you go.
There it is. Taking off.
Colonel, you better take a look at this radar. What is it, son? I don't know, sir. But it looks like a giant dick.
Yeah.
Take a look at it starboard. Oh my God, it looks like a huge...
Pecker!
Oh, yeah.
Wait, that's not a woodpecker. It looks like someone's...
Privates! We have reports of an unidentified flying object. It is a long, smooth shaft, complete with two balls.
What is that? That looks just like an enormous
Wang, pay attention.
I was distracted by that enormous flying...
Willie. What's that? It looks like a giant... Johnson. Yes, sir. Get on the horn to British intelligence and let them know about this.
There he is.
And our there you saw the main engine is turned off. We're now going to separate the capsule from the booster, and at that point,
Just the tip. Just the tip made it to orbit. Just saying.
Astronauts are going to start to feel the weightlessness, and thereafter.
Look at that entry, huh?
Oh God.
Shout out there. Nice.
There wasn't any chance they'd leave them up there.
I was hoping. Susan, is this? Do you think Katy Perry is now going to solve world hunger with her newly acquired knowledge, the spirituality of going into orbit?
This should make Russell Brand come running back to her, I think.
I
don't know. I'm sort of. What do you think? There's only one other lady present. I find this, and I don't get offended, but this seems so stupid. I can't help but see it as a put down. Hey, honey, she's ruining my couch.
Well, there you go. Well, how about this?
Can you stop it?
Look, I got the other one. Look, here's Manny.
Oh, the little chicken.
Hold on, Chris. Put Manny back up here. Give Manny.
We're gonna put Manny.
Give Manny some screen time. There he is. There's Manny. Hey, say hello to the folks.
Now that's a cute cat.
Yeah,
looks like
he's like, say hi. Say hi. Say hi. Don't kiss me.
So
there he
I'm
is.
at the grocery store and I'm hearing meow, 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 and I look. There's a lady at the grocery store with pushing a stroller with a cat in it, but not just any old cat, a Sphinx. So then I realized, this cat isn't in distress. She's going, hi, everyone. Hello.
Yeah.
Hello. Check out the pork chop.
Yeah, he's very vocal. He talks to
Yes,
so.
yes. She was too. And of course, everybody's going, ew. because she looks like a chicken cutlet, and
He looks like yeah. Looks like a big breast.
She was adorable and very, very happy to be there, saying hi to everyone.
Yeah.
They're different. They're very, very different. They're not really cats. I think
they're monkeys without thumbs. That's what they are.
Before we bring in our guest, we just want to play this because you guys were talking about it. Gayle King is so proud of herself.
And I'm so proud of us. I really am proud of me because I never in a gazillion years thought I could do this. And I just saw a video of us walking up the, I don't want to call it plank, but what do you, what's
go,
proper,
girl. Oh, think about it. Yeah, okay.
This was a hoax.
Yeah, with all these millions, you could do it too, by the way.
Yeah.
Welcome, Robert Spencer.
Good morning, Robert.
Good
morning. Robert, do you think, Robert, we should have left them in orbit permanently? Just let him kind of sit up there?
I got in trouble.
I don't really buy
where is HAL 9000 when you need him, right? Get rid of the crew. Remember that? The 2001? Open the pod bay door, Hal. I'm sorry, Dave. I'm afraid I can't do that. So they should have been left outside the pod bay door.
I was kind
in
of
their little thing.
I was kind of hoping that Dr. Smith would be on there trying to sabotage the ship.
Oh, the pain.
That's an idea. That's a new TV series. The wacky women of Lost in Space with Dr. Smith.
Oh,
Who can play Dr. Smith?
That reboot brought a broad in to play Dr. Smith.
Hey, I got an idea. You could cast them plus Dr. Fauci as Dr. Smith. Now that's ratings gold right there. Ratings gold.
No, you have to have the cast of The View.
Justin Trudeau could play Dr. Smith in that one then. But
Waltz would be a good one for Dr. Smith. He's already creepy.
Yeah, so bubble-headed poopy, you nincompoop.
Yeah, that's about right.
So Robert, thank you for being here. We do want to get serious now because we have a couple of serious things to talk about. So no more. It's kind of funny. The Babylon Bee did something yesterday talking about how Harvard will not be able, without federal funding, to implement the final solution to the Jewish question. And it's like, man, someone studied history and got it right. So it's kind of like whoever's over there gets context because it's like, wow, if you didn't understand history, that would look very innocent. But man, people like us understand what that meant. And it's true. There's no more of an anti-Semitic organization in the United States that I know of than Harvard. So I got 3 questions. I'll parse them out so we can have a good discussion. First off, why would they be getting $9 billion of taxpayer money as a private institution? It's like, have you been invited there? I haven't been invited there. Chris, have you been invited to Harvard? I haven't been invited to Harvard. Nobody here's been invited.
I have a protection order. An order of protection not to be there, I guess.
Yeah, so that's
maybe if they had more students than administrators, they could make a living.
Right. Well, that's my point. First off, I would argue it's a private university. No taxpayer money should go there. So, Robert, what do you think? I mean, to me, that's on the face of it's kind of silly.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree more. As a matter of fact, nowadays, when it is so hard for anybody who dissents from the leftist line to get a hearing at any university in the country, none of them should be getting any kind of government funding. If they can pay for themselves, if they can get people stupid enough to pay money to go there, okay. This is free enterprise.
Yes.
But there is no reason to subsidize what are essentially leftist propaganda.
Exactly.
Right. No, not by taxpayer money.
Well, that's my second point then. So they get the money. They have all these wacky programs, many of which I think go against the values of Western civilization, which I'm going to talk about in a second.
Intentionally.
Well, so you've been following it, Susan. So I want you both to comment on this because my second question is, how did they become the center of anti-Semitism and pro-Islamic extremism in the nation? How did that happen? Robert, first to you. Well, let's Susan, you take it first, and we'll let Robert. But how did this happen?
I have Tourette's when it comes to these things. Islamism, plain and simple.
As we're
That's the big
speaking,
deal. And I mean, Robert, when you and I met, like about 40 or 50 years ago, my first question for you was, is there some kind of collusion between the hard left and Islam? And you were like, absolutely. And I mean, that's really, when I went down the rabbit hole, and this has been my thing ever since, and it gets clearer and clearer and clearer to see. And then I've watched things like a debate between Dave Smith and Douglas Murray, and there are a lot of people that are former lefties who I really like where they're coming from, and then they talk about Israel. It's like, no, you don't get it. You don't understand. This has nothing to do with land. This is a holy war, and it's a war against all of us, and that's why it matters.
So Robert, why do you think Harvard became the center of this, and why are they fighting so hard to maintain their anti-Semitic point of view?
Harvard is the center of this because they're paid to be. They get millions and millions of dollars from Qatar, and Qatar, when they want you to toe their line.
That's true.
So Harvard is paid, and they want to keep the gravy train running. So they want to keep on being anti-Semitic because they know the Qataris want that. That's what they're paying for. And so they're going to fight this to the end.
Well, but by the way, a side note, Brookings is another big think tank that gets Qatar money. And I would always encourage people to consider the source when you read their stuff, because Qatar is very effective in undermining U.S. institutions. So it's not only Harvard, it's Brookings as well. But I digress. So my third point is then, how do we go about then using this as a start point? Because President Trump, God bless him, he's drawn a line in the sand, or in this case, a line in Harvard's concrete, kind of chiseled it and said, yeah, we're not going to do this. And should he go about not only dismantling, because he threatened withdrawing their nonprofit status. Robert, what do you think? Should he do that?
Absolutely. No doubt about it. And not just Harvard, but Georgetown and all the rest of them. And anybody that gets Qatari money should be cut off from any federal funds. And he should take action to stop all foreign funding of American universities. And let the American universities get American funding and survive on that. And if they can't, let them close.
Let's throw some numbers out there. Look at this chart here. Look where the money's coming from. United Arab Emirates, Egypt, Saudi Arabia, Qatar, Bangladesh, Azerbaijan, Morocco, India, and of course you got a couple of European nations thrown in there.
So you got to go down to India and Norway before you get, and Switzerland. But all the others are Muslim countries, and a lot of those, particularly Saudi Arabia and Qatar, they are paying for the hatred of Israel that we're seeing at the university level today.
Yeah. So I want at that point, Susan, first to you. You and I are friends. I like what you stand for. I love the fact you're kind of bohemian. You kind of have this idea of loving all. It's kind of the old hippie idea, the ideals of being embracing those who are good and encouraging that. The only nation in the Middle East which has that same kind of bohemian ideology where you can just be who you are is the Israelis. If you go to Qatar, you go to Jordan, you have to wear at minimum the hijab, or worse, a burqa. Tell me, how is wearing a burqa freeing for a woman? I don't understand that, because if you go to an Arab nation, that's what you got to do. I'm just
it makes the same kind of sense as Queers for Palestine. These people, I think, are suicidal without even knowing it.
Yeah,
and,
it's insane.
I mean, and you're right. There's a whole lot of hippie in me, because there's a whole lot of good in that.
Yeah, I know. I get
What
it.
we used to like about the left, and now the
Yeah.
left really and truly stand for the exact opposite, but they're too stupid to even know it.
Yeah.
And I heard Joe Rogan last night. I don't know when this occurred, but like getting a clip and saying, hey, I think that there are other countries facilitating the education of our youth to undermine everything that America stands for. I'm like, hey, score one for Joe.
Yeah.
Yes, that's what's happening. And if you doubt it, just take a good look at England.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Well, so Robert, to you then. I mean, the basic philosophy of radical or political Islam is to use religion as a vector into the fabric of Western civilization. They're using essentially the concepts of a religion for purposes of politics. Is that a good assessment of kind of how they're approaching this?
Oh, absolutely. But it has to be remembered that in Islam, there's no distinction between religion and politics.
Exactly.
It's a political religion that's
what I'm saying. Yeah, so when we interpret it via the Western lens of, oh, it's just a religion, they're just people wanting to have a point of view different than ours. It's a lie. Because to your point, there is no distinction within Islam between the religion and within the governance. That they are one and the same. Now, how do we go about then trying to make sure that people understand that there's no distinction with the difference within Islam when they come to a place, when they take over, like Susan just said, England. England is a perfect example. And did you see J.D. Vance actually said that the UK is the first Islamic nation to have nuclear weapons? Well, it's not really true, but it's kind of still funny. But I'm just saying that how do we then go about trying to now that we've seen Harvard, it's not taken out yet, but I think it's going to be taken out. How do we then start writing the narrative to tell people, look, if you want to be free, if you want to be gay, lesbian, you want to be have your hair the color of unicorn farts, we don't care. The only place you can do it is in Israel. Everywhere else you would be subjugated. How do we start walking back this narrative here in the United States? Because I think it's been something that we would all agree needs to be done.
Well, I think that you actually just hit it right there. That if we frame it in the context of the human rights that these people would be taking away from the people who they think are there on their side, then I don't know. I mean, I don't think the left is very interested in rational discussion right now.
No.
It's going to take a tragedy.
Concept.
But Robert, to that point, because they aren't into it, now's the time to expose them. Because Scott Jennings over at CNN has been doing a brilliant job of getting them to show who they are. Like you've got lefties now arguing that MS-13 terrorists should stay. It's like, oh no, we like having neighborhoods terrorized. It's okay. So now would I think be the time for us to get together and do something more on this, because that space, that information space that they used to dominate, well, it's up for grabs right now. It's kind of like a fumble on the field. And I would argue we should be looking how we can pick up the football and run it back the other way, because this is an opportunity. And to that point, and Susan, I want to run this back to you again. Hollywood has really not been good about telling the truth about Islam. Yeah, there's a few war movies, a few shoot 'em up things. They talk about that, but they don't talk about Sharia and the severe limitation of rights on women. I mean, in in these Muslim countries, women are considered property. How do we let people know that women would be considered property the more they're able to implement Sharia here or anywhere else? How do we do this?
Hypocrisy seems to be a very intoxicating drug that a lot of feminists are really hooked on.
Yeah.
And it just, they're so brainwashed by the idea of virtue signaling. And let's embrace people that look like our enemies, but they're fine. It's like that couple. I always think of them that were saying love is love and people are people, and they were going to ride their bikes across some very, very heavy duty Islamic lands, and of
Yeah.
course they were killed. You know, I almost would hate to see Donald Trump fulfill a promise that I would love to see him fulfill, but he gets so much flack for it. But do you remember in his first administration, he said that he would designate the Muslim Brotherhood as a
A
terrorist
terrorist.
organization?
Yes,
I
that's a
pushed
big
for
one.
that. I was
That would
part of the team
do
Big
pushing
one.
for that. That's
do
correct. Yeah.
wonders.
Oh, but
Because,
the Arab
because what we
Spring.
could do is then we can separate the religion from the political ideology and say,
That's right.
no, this does not hide under religion. And hey, okay, Muslims, we understand most of you are peaceful. So
Yeah.
you get together and you create a peaceful Islam. You reform it. Until you do, your laws of dimitude apply to Islam in America.
Yeah. Look, I was on, you're going to laugh at this, but you probably won't laugh at it. I was over in Egypt in 2013 with Bud McFarlane on a delegation where the Egyptians who were telling us, oh, yeah, look, I'm Islamic, but Muslim Brotherhood, they're evil. Well, you need to help us get rid of them. And
It was
I spoke to.
Obama that brought them back into Egypt.
Right. Yeah. So, and at the time, let me finish, Chris. The Egyptians had sealed off the American embassy. We were there because we were considered not part of the Obama administration, which we weren't, just saying. And it was funny because the New York Times was talking about how al-Sisi and the revolution was, oh, the Egyptian people didn't want this. Like, they wanted the Muslim Brotherhood gone. They kicked him out, and yet it was being reported here the opposite. And I actually reached out to Scott Shane. I said, Scott, you know, I'm here on the ground, and your folks are reporting the opposite. And he said, well, let me talk to the editor. Well, I don't know if he did or not. It didn't change anything. But what we were seeing was opposite. And to that point, and back to you, Robert, on this, al-Sisi, while he's a Muslim, he's a war college graduate, he's a former field marshal, he's been working to try to push the people of Egypt away from Muslim extremism and trying to defeat the Muslim Brotherhood. And yet, as Susan just correctly pointed out, even the Trump first go around, we couldn't get him banned. So first off, do you think we should pick that back up and go after the Brotherhood again? And secondly, should we be more aggressive in going and helping Islam reform itself?
Well, I don't know that you can do the second one because, you know, there's a very big distinction in the Quran. The Quran said, Muhammad is the apostle of Allah. Those who follow him are ruthless to unbelievers and merciful to one another. And the believers, the Muslims, are the best of people on earth, and the non-Muslims are the most vile of created beings. These are all quotations from the Quran. It's tough to think that the most vile of created beings is going to go over and tell the best of peoples how to fix the perfect religion, which is also in the Quran, that the Islam is perfect. And so you don't reform what's perfect. You don't fix what ain't broke. So that's not going to happen. But at the same time, we should certainly be pushing to have the Muslim Brotherhood declared a terrorist organization. One problem with that is, however, that ever since the 1990s, the Muslim Brotherhood has been working to get its operatives into the U.S. government. And
they're in, Robert. They're in.
Oh,
they're
yeah.
in the government.
He promised.
I know a few. Yeah.
He promised that he would appoint Muslims to every level of his administration, and he did so. And he made that promise to Engage, which is a Muslim Brotherhood organization, and he appointed Muslim Brotherhood operatives to every level.
I don't want to say names here. I would get sued, but I know who they are. No, and I think you probably do too. You do too.
Are still in the bureaucracy, and so
you do too. Yeah.
And obstruct any effort to declare the Muslim Brotherhood a terrorist organization.
All right, so let me re-ask the second part of my question. Do you think we should send AOC over to try to help coach them to reform their religion? I think that would be hilarious. That's a TV series there. That's like what we call it, the heathens and the saints. That would be a great TV series, right? Right, Chris? We could write that up for AOC.
I'll say that. Yeah, I agree with that.
Cory Booker could go over as the gladiator to help protect her going through and helping reform. That's ratings gold right there. So.
And of course, Nancy Pelosi can come in and help them sing or join along when they all sing "If I Had a Hammer."
Yeah, that's good stuff. So, but Go ahead, Chris.
I wanted to bring across the point that you and Robert and Susan and Trixie were all making here. The idea that the Muslim Brotherhood during the Arab Spring was celebrated by the mainstream media here and celebrated by
that
the
was
Obama
horrible.
administration. I mean, that without looking into it, we used to have something called journalists in this country that would look into things, but it was Ann Coulter, a commentator, who was the one who publicly revealed, well, at least the first one I remember, who publicly revealed the evils of the Muslim Brotherhood. And then some of the other commentators on our site started following along. Even myself, at the time, I was doing radio at that time. It was, I guess I'm doing radio. You know where I'm going. But the idea is they were not just trying to ignore they were celebrating. So here's my question to Robert, Susan, Prix, and you, Tony. The idea that the mainstream media and of course the left here like to use Israel as a punching bag in the Middle East. They say, oh, well, Israel shouldn't be here. Israel could have been in North Africa. Or the reason why they're attacking is because they took the land. Isn't that less of a it's probably less of a distraction. Excuse me. I would think it's more of a distraction to have them avoid or keep the rest of the world's attention away from the dangers of the jihadist movement.
Well, sure, because you got the Gazans are actually the jihadist movement, and that's that's Hamas, and they're fighting Israel, and so they've now gotten the whole American university system on their side, and all these people agitating out there for Hamas. I remember before October 7th, it was unheard of to see people publicly expressing support for Hamas, and now it's mainstream. Now it's taken for granted. And so this has only happened because people don't think of Hamas as the same kind of people as the ones who took down the towers on 9/11. They think Hamas is some kind of resistance movement against oppression. And so you're asking Tony before about what we've got to communicate to change this. Well, one of the first things is to make the point that Hamas they're the same guys that took down the towers. Same ideology, same beliefs, same motives, same goals. And so if we are opposed to 9/11, we should be opposed to Hamas.
Yeah.
And more evil. I mean, taking more delight in being evil.
That's true. Real sick.
Yeah. Well, speaking of that real quick, and I know that Chris wanted to get to this yesterday, and I was tied up, but we'll throw it in there. So Kurt Weldon, my friend, Congressman Kurt Weldon, pointed out that, we may have had people kind of helping Al-Qaeda take the towers down. Now, I don't want to get into anything that's going to get people upset here. Well, maybe I do. I don't know. Maybe that's my job. But my point being is that there are indicators, Robert, that certain elements of our government were looking the other way for allowing the radical Islamists, especially the Saudis, to essentially set up a network, which I do know from my own direct experience as an intelligence officer. Al-Qaeda had an effective network here in America. Anwar al-Awlaki was part of it. Anwar al-Awlaki, who my friend Catherine Herridge covered extensively, was actually escorting around two of the hijackers. So you have an FBI asset, Anwar al-Awlaki, moving two of the hijackers around. Do you think maybe our government's been compromised to radical Islam for, I don't know, maybe 20, 30 years?
I don't have any doubt about it. Look, you got the 28 pages, the famous 28 pages of the 9/11 report, all about the Saudi involvement, redacted for years, released under high pressure during the Obama administration, but still heavily redacted. You've got clear evidence of Saudi involvement that includes the fact that no planes were flying at all after 9/11, except ones getting the bin Laden family members out of the country.
I know that for a fact. Absolutely.
George W. Bush holding hands with the Saudi king and walking around like they're best buds not long after 9/11. And you've got very strange, fishy stories that I can tell you one that was not publicized that I heard myself. I had a friend who has since passed away, and he was very sick on 9/11. He had actually spent the whole summer of 2001 in the Mayo Clinic in Minnesota. And he said that the overwhelming majority of the people who were there with him in the Mayo Clinic were Saudi citizens. And a lot of them were members of the royal family, which is very huge, because they got polygamy. They've got 30, 40 children sometimes.
Right.
So everybody's a Saudi prince. Anyway, he says he woke up on the morning of September 11th, 2001, and went downstairs, and all the Saudis were gone. And this was before the towers were hit. This was before.
Right. Oh, yeah, of course. Yeah.
On the night of the 10th to the morning of the 11th, this whole place that had been full of Saudis was cleared out. And then the fishy story was reported out of Florida of people who were in contact with the 9/11 hijackers. And on September 11th, 2001, they were going about their business. They got little kids, toys strewn in the yard, dinner cooking on the stove, and they vanish.
Yeah. Well, it's very clear that there is prior knowledge. And this is what I've argued. And that's what that's what Kurt Walden's been arguing as well, is that right before it happened. And by the way, did you notice, Robert, within 24 hours of the attack, they listed every hijacker by address, where they were at. And it's like, and we were tracking these guys secretly. We were clandestinely tracking them. It's like, how in the hell did they come up with that? And so it's very clear to me. And if you just start, and this is where I think we're going to work on this. I can't talk about everything that's going on behind the scenes, but I can tell you that based on what Kurt Walden said with Tucker, there's going to be essentially a series of interviews with people who have direct knowledge, like you're talking about. This is not unique. And I think what's happened, and Kurt Walden says during that interview that Chris just showed, that President Trump's enemies are the enemies we're talking about right now regarding radical Islam. The deep state, the people who actually helped perpetrate the 9/11 attacks, they've not gone away. They've just refined their skills, and they are allied. The radical Islamists, those people in the deep state, the people who have infected Harvard, it's all the same. These people are the enemy of Western civilization. It's a battle of good and evil. So I hope people will go out and pick up your book, Anti-Semitism, History and Myth, because man, oh man, it's not a history. It's not a myth. It's happening right now before us. Right, Robert? I mean, we're facing some of this right now.
Oh, yeah. Well, it's more virulent than it has been since 1945 right now. And it's been mainstreamed not only on the left, but also among many, many sectors among patriots. This is one of the reasons why I wrote the book, to try to alert of people where this is coming from, what they're saying, why it's false, and what can be done about it.
And critics of the book may include Claudine Gay, the former president of Harvard.
I had to walk into, I'm on the Library Trust in Chowan County, and I had to walk into a meeting, and they're displayed on one of the book displays, for people to pick up, was white fragility. It's like, what? It's like, I'm pretty sure I'm not fragile, but thanks for offering. It's like, okay.
I don't know. I was watching that. Intently. That hearing from with Claudine Gay and the UPenn president and everything else. And I was just waiting for Claudine Gay to say when at least Stefano dressed her down again. Did I do that?
She is horrible. So Robert, we appreciate you being here. Susan, we love you being here. Trixie, we always appreciate you joining us. So before we go, we're running out of time here because we have a limited time because our evil overlord, good morning, Ed, limits our time. The path forward now here. We're 3 months in. People keep forgetting. It's like, no, this is just the beginning. We've got another for 3.5 years to go. This is chaos, but in a good way. This President Trump seems to be picking battles. He's picking his fights, and he's being very effective. I think by kicking over this stinky rock known as Harvard, you're going to see all these cockroaches scramble out. Robert, if you could give President Trump some advice, what would you tell him to do over the next year regarding continuing to follow up on this anti-Semitism, countering anti-Semitism that he's doing right now?
Well, he's got to make the case that this is not about freedom of speech. The left's main counterattack is that he's trying to destroy the freedom of speech, which is kind of ironic because they just spent 4 years really trying to destroy it. But he needs to have a very clear documentation of how these people are actively menacing Jewish and pro-Israel students on campuses, that this is not a matter of freedom of expression, that the rules for green cards, which is what Mahmoud Khalil had, they rule out expressing open support for a terrorist organization, which he was doing. And so all of this is happening in a completely legal fact. I know that the media will lie and ignore him making the case anyway, but I think that there is room for improvement in how it's being made right now, and that he's got to follow through and not just cut off Harvard, not just threaten to cut them off, but cut off all the federal funding from all the universities until they start allowing for real freedom of speech on campus and genuine opposing views.
I would just cut them off. I just cut them off here because they clearly are not going to use it for any good thing. But Susan, over to you. What would you ask President Trump to do? Plus, what could we do to encourage Hollywood to actually stop being hypocritical? That's a bridge too far, but I'm just,
That's a tough one there.
I'm just asking. So,
well, I think Hollywood is self-destructing. And I think that problem is taking care of itself. When I took one look at the Oscars that year, that everybody was wearing their little pink pins with the red palm on it, which I'm sure they thought meant I like having my palm red. I mean, it's remarkable.
Man. Yeah, man.
I mean, I looked at that and I said, I know I'm done with them. These people are done with reality. I think that art will save Hollywood, and but
let's cover that real quick. It's you and well, you and not specifically on this issue, but you guys are working on Leaving Amy. You and Cherie Curry are doing a movie called Leaving Amy regarding the transgender issue. You want to talk about that real quick, Susan? We'll give a plug for that.
It's a very nuanced situation, because this is a person who was born female, who is encouraged to.
And I've met him. I met her. A good person.
Well, and she got it from both angles too, because then she started to go, wait a minute, I was never told that it would be this complicated, this painful, this unsuccessful. They're told, hey, you can become another sex, but it's not true. It never really happens. It's 100% failure rate in the surgery. And then started getting all the pushback from the other angle, saying, go back to your original gender. And it was Cherie and I that were going, but don't you think Matt really seems like a guy? And he does. And so he's decided he is going to stay, he's just Matt. He belongs in that, when it comes to gender, I'd like to tell Trump, no, you got it wrong. There aren't two genders. There's a lot of genders. There's just two sexes.
Right. Exactly. Yeah.
But this is just about all the push and pull and the political strategies of it. And the fact that this person was never told the truth about what they were engaging in.
Right. So it's well stated.
Story told.
Well, yeah. So we'll continue to support you guys on that. But in the meantime, Robert, thank you for being here. Trixie, thank you for being here. Susan, always lovely. Thank you for being here. By the way, one last question before we go. Do you think we should send Gretchen Whitmer undercover into the Middle East? Because I think she's a guy. I think she's a guy, and she could fit right in with the Arabs. Just saying.
I doesn't have to wear a hijab then.
No.
Find her in front of you.
And Trump was praising her.
I know, it was great.
By the way,
allowed seeds to be sold at Walmart.
By the way, tomorrow, Trixie and Trixie, Sean, and George will be on with Mark Schwartz,
great
host of the Mike Schwartz, host of the Mike Schwartz Show, and best-selling author. So it's going to be a lot of talking about vaccines and mRNA. It'll be a lot of fun.
Great. Well, good seeing everybody. Thank you all for being here on another day of Ed Henry's Wake Up Patriots. I think we've all woken up to some really good information that we need to take action on. So we'd like to have you come back on soon. Right, Chris?
I think so. I think we can work that sort of thing out.
Yeah.
And buy Robert's book.
Yes.
My book.
Show that. Let me put that up there again.
Yeah.
It's Anti-Semitism, History and Myth. It's excellent stuff here. Check it out. And you can get it on Amazon quite easily.
Yeah. In the meantime, I got to get back to wrangling cats.
Yeah,
they're around here somewhere.
And I got to wrangle people. So we're all, aw.
Well, y'all take care. Patriots, have a great day, and you'll see Trixie tomorrow. You'll see us on